Performance assessment, also known as authentic assessment, allows the students to perform meaningful tasks, to demonstrate what they know and can do in real-life situations.
Can you give me an example?
For dancing, the audition is diagnostic assessment for learning, and the rehearsal is formative assessment for learning. The critiques throughout the formative assessment as learning, and the final end performance is summative assessment of learning.
Who cares about dance? What about another example?
For sports, the tryout is diagnostic assessment for learning, and the practice is formative assessment for learning. Debriefs throughout the formative assessment as learning, and the final game is summative assessment of learning.
But what about science?
Use inquiry as a lab.
In science, as diagnostic assessment for learning, students perform inquiry experiments with no prior teaching. This lung experiment helps determine what students know about lung function, whereas this glasses lab helps determine what students know about density laws, particle theory, and more. As formative assessment for learning, students perform inquiry experiments as an extension of the lesson. For example, this oil spill experiment lets students practice what they've learned about density laws, particle theory, polarity, and more. This lemon lab allows students to understand electricity laws, electrolytes, acids, and metals. These labs would be assessed for improvement purposes so students know what is expected for their final summative assessment of learning a variety of scientific concepts. As summative assessment of learning, students share their work in a gallery walk within the class or a science fair of their best and perfected experiments.
Dear Diary, I learn best when I actually do things hands-on, and the teacher marks me on how I use my creativity. Plus, my friends and I get to brainstorm together to make the coolest experiments. Today I learned that when I breathe, I don't suck air in. My lungs inflate due to pressure changes. I never knew that before. So cool.
This looks really awesome. What are some other strengths of this inquiry learning?
It allows students to perform the skill and apply procedural knowledge. It allows students to use higher order thinking, real-world reasoning skills, and problem solving. It's not just about the end result. It's about determining what's going right and wrong throughout the process for constant improvement. It allows us to see how students are thinking, and of course it differentiates for all different learning styles. For example, hands-on manipulatives are useful for students with mild intellectual disabilities, and visual spatial processing and nonverbal reasoning needs. It also allows for posting of extra resources that students can explore, which is useful for students with poor organizational skills or students that need to access information through assistive technology. Labs can be performed in quieter rooms to accommodate students with learning disabilities and attention deficit needs to minimize distractions. Plus, students can work at their own pace and at their own level to accommodate all levels of readiness.
This sounds too good to be true. Is there anything I should be aware of?
Assessment can be biased as it's highly judgment-based. If there aren't extra rooms, for instance, it might be too loud and distracting for some students. And the students that are shy might be afraid to explain their experiment.
Don't worry.
I want to learn more, so I found some resources and information to learn more about this all-encompassing learning method.